A lifeless form of a young lady was found beside a remote highway in the region of Morelos. The person who stumbled upon her promptly dialed for help. The figure displayed no signs of life. Her attire was creased and soiled, with evident marks of contusions and abrasions apparent on her flesh. Detectives located no ID papers or items close by that might aid in determining her identity. This initiated a probe designed to clarify the events and reveal the causes of this sorrowful occurrence. Ariadna Fernanda López Díaz entered the world on July 5, 1995, in a disadvantaged area of Mexico City. Although her early years were defined by scarce means, they were also enveloped in warmth and attention. Her household included her mom and her elder sibling Omar. Despite the lack of an involved paternal presence in their lives, they stayed bonded through mutual aid. Ariadna was noted for her gentle and amicable personality, earning her popularity among peers. She stood out due to her integrity and eagerness to support others. Omar served as both mentor and protector for Ariadna, offering her ongoing motivation. Their close bond provided Ariadna with a sense of security, aware that she had a reliable ally. She passed her educational days with dear companions, sharing aspirations and visions for what lay ahead. Yet, in 2018, at age 23, Ariadna's mother received a cancer diagnosis. The illness progressed swiftly, and soon the family faced the inevitable. Her mom's death represented a devastating blow for Ariadna and Omar. Beyond strengthening their tie, this bereavement forced Ariadna to mature rapidly and take charge of her existence. She inked her mother's name onto her skin as an enduring homage, ensuring her mom's essence stayed with her forever. Prior to her mother's loss, Ariadna had encountered a young guy and swiftly developed strong feelings. Their bond advanced quickly, and shortly thereafter, Ariadna learned she was expecting a boy. However, his arrival didn't deliver the steadiness she anticipated. The pair soon realized their directions were diverging, and following their split, they kept a respectful dynamic while parenting their kid. Ariadna had to juggle motherhood duties with job hunting to sustain herself and her child. Her initial employment was at a trendy bar in Mexico City, famous for drawing wealthy customers and upholding high standards for employees. Despite the hurdles, Ariadna thrived in her role, drawing on her appeal and firm commitment to surmount obstacles. The outbreak introduced major shifts to her routine, including job loss from the closure of her workplace. Instead of yielding, Ariadna seized this time to pursue a long-standing ambition by starting her own beauty parlor. This enterprise symbolized her determination and desire to forge a self-reliant life using her extensive contacts and expertise. In this phase, she encountered a gentleman with whom she shared an instant bond, and he turned into a pillar of reliability and delight in her world. By 27, she split her hours among her companion, her occupation, and her son. Her schedule was packed. Still, she discovered pleasure in every fresh opportunity that arose. Ariadna's existence mirrored a mosaic meticulously pieced together, with each hardship and triumph adding to a portrait of endurance and success. She had endured total loss, reconstructed her path, ensured her son's prospects, and attained autonomy. But what appeared as the dawn of a happy phase was truly the prelude to a calamity. Via common contacts, Ariadna and Vanessa initially crossed paths at a gathering Ariadna joined with her pals. Vanessa instantly drew Ariadna's notice as she was youthful, vibrant, and engaging. Vanessa possessed a talent for rapidly building rapport. However, those familiar with her intimately had varied opinions. Under her seeming candor, she harbored a keen edge, and her unpredictable actions frequently caught others off guard. A middle-aged entrepreneur called Rutilio was regularly spotted in Vanessa's circle. His standing was shrouded by whispers about his wealth, influence, and extravagant habits. He was commonly seen with young ladies keen to join his scene, and tales of his links to prominent personalities and even illicit networks bolstered his persona. Though nobody in his set could verify these assertions. While Ariadna was smart and self-sufficient, she didn't right away spot how dissimilar these fresh associates were from her typical group, since Rutilio steered clear of candid talks about his history and ventures. Nonetheless, his manner evoked both respect and discomfort. To dazzle, Vanessa frequently boasted of her ties to potent folks like Rutilio, portraying him as one who could ultimately fix any issue. Ariadna started hanging out more with them. Vanessa labored to earn Ariadna's trust and appeared truly captivated by her. Upon hearing of Ariadna via Vanessa, Rutilio swiftly showed curiosity in her and enchanted her with his dialogue prowess and consideration. His allure and assurance were indisputable, and Ariadna wasn't immune to their impact. But below this allure lay a more intricate nature, as those interacting with Rutilio observed his inclination toward control. Regardless, Ariadna saw him as polite and compassionate. As periods elapsed, disturbing facts started emerging. For example, some of Ariadna's buddies cautioned her to exercise caution around Rutilio owing to his dubious repute and Vanessa's volatile conduct, implying these links could carry concealed risks. Vanessa kept playing a key part in strengthening the link between Ariadna and Rutilio by routinely inviting Ariadna to events where Rutilio appeared, cultivating a vibe of confidence and transparency. Despite the alerts, Ariadna regarded her link with Vanessa as a chance to escape her routine obligations and venture into a realm formerly out of bounds. And she sensed no threat in her novel acquaintances. Rutilio, in the meantime, sought to win her over by behaving thoughtfully and bountifully. He extended invites to meals and occasions, which she deemed intriguing and innocuous. As known, Ariadna was committed to a young fellow. Yet, this didn't stop her from keeping friendships and sometimes accepting invites to outings because, per available data, her mate was dependable and showed no unease about her social engagements. Over time, Ariadna came to understand that these new ties were beginning to affect her existence. Vanessa reached out often, suggesting get-togethers and planning leisure pursuits. Simultaneously, Rutilio ramped up his attempts to insert himself into Ariadna's world by consistently providing assistance and backing in various scenarios. Without her knowing, Ariadna was slowly getting drawn into their social sphere and stayed oblivious to the possible repercussions. On October 30, 2022, Vanessa asked Ariadna to join an evening with her companions, starting at Fisher's, a well-known eatery in central Mexico City. Vanessa promised her the evening would be fun, packed with good company and a casual meal. The assembly gathered later that night, and the venue, renowned for its stylish crowd and elegant setup, set a lively scene for the event. The vibe at the table was upbeat and festive, with wine cocktails and various starters adding to the merry atmosphere. Rutilio was anticipated to join, which stirred a slight unease in Ariadna despite her growing reservations about him. Nonetheless, she didn't wish to risk her bond with Vanessa, so she opted not to decline. Rutilio established himself as the center of the event by recounting tales and suggesting cheers, as was his habit. He emphasized his command and dealt assuredly with the eatery personnel. Vanessa backed him by tossing quips and inserting comments to maintain the chat. The other attendees aimed to match the host's vigor by trailing their cues. In the vibrant setup, Ariadna's demeanor contrasted because she seemed restless. She often glanced at her device, scanning texts and keying responses, and she fixed her gaze on Rutilio as though seeking some hidden intent in his speech or actions. Vanessa tried to divert her by pulling her into talks and pressing her to try another beverage. But Ariadna remained reserved, and her face plainly indicated that something bothered her beyond the setting itself. As the night advanced, the group decided to move to Rutilio's residence. Rutilio himself suggested it, and Vanessa enthusiastically concurred, noting it would allow them to extend the evening in a more private space. Midway through the night, Ariadna shared a mysterious note on social platforms questioning her intimate circle and kin if they'd long for her should she disappear. Many in her wider network dismissed it as humor, but her nearest ones noted she'd never shared such a thing prior. The note created a disquieting vibe, though none could predict it would be her last. After Ariadna wavered, the others advanced, piling into Rutilio's vehicle for the brief drive to his place, and she finally consented following Vanessa's persuasion. Rutilio's dwelling, situated in a prosperous district, mirrored his position and boasted contemporary style with opulent features. On reaching, the group stepped into a roomy lounge. The evening persisted with tunes and libations. Yet, Ariadna became more ill at ease, repeatedly excusing herself to review her phone and feigning conversations. She expressed a desire to depart, citing fatigue. But Vanessa persuaded her to linger a little more, proposing they could exit in roughly half an hour. By then, Rutilio grew markedly silent, and he sporadically eyed Ariadna in a way that amplified her discomfort. As the night wore on and fellow guests started departing, Vanessa spotted this conduct and began murmuring with Rutilio, which escalated the strain further. Sadly, Ariadna was among the final folks to exit. none from the assembly would witness her living again. The next daybreak, a shock rippled through Morelos. On October 31, 2022, two bikers on a morning outing spotted a dead female positioned next to a countryside path. The spot was far from primary routes and in a zone seldom frequented by folks. The grim environs highlighted the misfortune with thin plant life and a spooky quiet. The female was dressed, but her clothes were filthy and looked greatly tattered. She displayed several contusions and apparent welts on her form. Hours post the report to officials, photographers captured images of the site to record the surroundings and perhaps assist in naming the victim. As law enforcement swiftly cordoned the zone and commenced gathering clues, tire impressions and signs that the form had been shifted appeared on the soil. Forensic experts observed obvious indicators of resistance. However, pinpointing the precise death conditions wasn't feasible then, since the death reason was ambiguous and no evident wounds tied to weaponry existed. The lady's name stayed unidentified at first, as no ID or belongings accompanied her. A short while later, pictures of the form spread across social channels, igniting broad chatter among Ariadna's acquaintances and relatives, who realized she'd vanished post a meetup at Rutilio's place. They recognized the victim via her unique traits, including her inkings. When Ariadna's kin reached to formally confirm the identity, their gravest worries proved true. Her sibling Omar had already foreseen the result and submitted a disappearance alert to law enforcement, doubting the discovered female might be his kin. Concurrently, officials in Morelos started a probe, but the authorities' early management of the matter attracted sharp rebuke as claims surfaced that vital traces at the location weren't correctly noted and that standard proof-gathering protocols were breached. The kin's prompt reaction was a call for fairness. They initiated demands for an open probe and responsibility for the culprits. That day, they reached out to pals active on social platforms to boost case visibility. What began as a small push rapidly built steam and captured the notice of multitudes. Omar finally confirmed his sibling via a shoulder inking that paid tribute to their deceased mom. The kin's dismay deepened due to her form's condition, as the contusions and harms on her visage and limbs plainly suggested a forceful incident. Despite rising communal demands, Morelos police upheld that the demise might have been unintended and stressed a forensic review was needed prior to advancing. This position merely heightened worries and bolstered doubts that powerful persons could be masking reality. Since they were the ultimate individuals to view Ariadna breathing, Rutilio and Vanessa became the initial persons approached by probers. Their accounts shaped the basis of early ideas on what could have transpired. Per Rutilio's opening declaration, he asserted that post the assembly, Ariadna opted to exit his abode and summoned a cab. To him, she looked a bit disturbed but showed no grave distress signals. He mentioned escorting her to the entrance, after which she headed to an unspecified spot. But discrepancies in their narrative soon sparked questions. The primary big problem was the lack of any confirmation a cab trip occurred. Neither Rutilio nor Vanessa could supply driver info or proof to back their statements. Vanessa endorsed his tale by affirming Ariadna had indeed left via cab and hadn't mentioned her destination. Probers subsequently found that while multiple cab requests were recorded near Rutilio's home that evening, no drivers claimed transporting Ariadna. A further issue concerned Vanessa's actions. At first, she said Ariadna departed solo, but afterward she appended that they'd quarreled at the event, which could have distressed Ariadna. Moreover, Ariadna's pals told police Vanessa had messaged them implying Ariadna might have self-injured, alluding to the puzzling social post she'd uploaded mere hours pre her vanishing. While her kin and tight pals had first shrugged the post as jest, it still provoked disquiet. Probers started pondering the note could have mirrored Ariadna's actual mood that night. Another worrisome aspect was Vanessa's growing unpredictable conduct, evident via her texts to Ariadna's pals. In one communication, she confessed fearing suspect status, but omitted why, which solely amplified alarm. Probers thought Vanessa might be withholding vital data. Though preliminary probe outcomes didn't plainly set the precise details of Ariadna's demise, later efforts by enforcement and outside specialists revealed key proof. These insights stemmed from texts on the suspect's devices and dual post-mortem safety videos. The initial forensic check done in Morelos State ruled Ariadna's demise as asphyxiation tied to bronchial aspiration. Ariadna's kin promptly disputed the assessor's claim that edibles and booze in her passage could have aided her passing, stressing the many contusions and harms on her form that the document neglected to properly tackle despite its formal rulings. Amid escalating demands from kin and populace, they sought a follow-up check. Ariadna's remnants were moved to another forensic center in Mexico City for extra scrutiny. The second post-mortem outcomes fully opposed the first discoveries. Experts pinpointed various harms, including head trauma, bruising, and force marks on her limbs, suggesting she'd attempted self-defense. These findings affirmed her demise wasn't accidental or solely booze-related, but stemmed from aggressive deeds, leading officials to reframe the matter as criminal. Monitoring footage from Rutilio's home parking area was vital to the probe as it depicted him hauling Ariadna's inert form to his auto the dawn post the event. The clips also caught him loading her form into the car and departing. These tapes turned into irrefutable proof, connecting Rutilio and Vanessa's devices to the form's relocation and subsequent hiding. The communications showed tries to rationalize their deeds to Ariadna's pals and synchronize tales for officials. Rutilio calmed Vanessa that matters were managed as she voiced worry over kin pressure. In her interactions with Ariadna's pals, Vanessa persistently hinted Ariadna could have endured emotional distress, suggesting self-harm chance. This story clashed with Ariadna's pals' portrayals, who described her as upbeat and spirited with no such behavior signs. One text even held specific directions on responding queries without sparking doubt. Proof from the second post-mortem, monitoring clips, and retrieved exchanges gave a fuller grasp of occurrences, which deepened questions on Vanessa's part. The savage character of Ariadna's demise and the subsequent body concealment were clear from proof, prompting probers to conclude original claims of accidental demise or Ariadna willingly exiting Rutilio's abode mismatched facts. These insights built the basis for accusations against Rutilio and Vanessa, who would shortly confront court for their deeds. Probers learned that Vanessa, the initial person detained, had stayed in ongoing contact with Rutilio post-incident days, debating ways to dodge blame. During her early quiz, she faced heavy public watch at her capture. Vanessa asserted no role in Ariadna's demise. Yet, her words were contested. A check of Vanessa's assertions showed mismatches despite her claim of retiring early that incident night and ignorance of later happenings. Probers also found Vanessa purposefully ruined potential proof by erasing pics of the evening and other damning content to mask her cover-up role after noting rising proof against him. Texts proved she was completely aware of events and had debated specifics with Rutilio. Rutilio elected to turn himself in with his lawyers, declaring innocence and saying he didn't injure Ariadna, but rather freaked and tried body disposal from consequence fear. Per his tale, he discovered Ariadna unresponsive in his dwelling the post-party morn and chose to discard her form to lessen suspicion. But this account prompted major doubts since second post-mortem findings verified violent demise cause, opposing his assertions. Per extra monitoring footage, he transported the form while obviously striving to hide deeds instead of getting aid. As the probe advanced, disturbing details surfaced on possible graft linking Rutilio and Morelos' prosecutor's office. And his text talks with Vanessa also showed joint work to settle on fake stories of events. Ariadna's kin charged the prosecutor with power misuse to shield Rutilio from blame after the state's first post-mortem report intentionally skipped mentions of harms, plainly signaling violence. The public responded with fury to these charges. The Morelos prosecutor's choice was examined by Mexico City officials and an internal unit began a misconduct probe. Per some witnesses, Rutilio had bonds to crime groups that might have fueled his seeming surety in evading penalty. The matter attracted major focus, acting as an emblem of legal system defects and underscoring public pressure's role in justice quest. Extra quizzes and gathered proof implied at least one suspect held greater knowledge of that night's events than admitted. Still, neither Vanessa nor Rutilio took direct blame, instead centering statements on shared tries to defend deeds. Their conduct merely heightened doubt and contributed greatly to their interim holding. A thorough and extended probe was executed to inspect facts and drives behind the night's tragedy. Uncovering truth demanded meticulously rebuilding event order, assessing proof, and tightly watching each person's conduct at the assembly. Ultimately, a clearer image formed, assembled from clashing accounts, tech info, and suspects' mental outlines. That doomed night started at a downtown Mexico City eatery where Ariadna, per witness words and text analysis along with Vanessa and Rutilio, joined by shared pals, enjoyed supper and drinks. Outwardly, all seemed routine with talk, chuckles, and melodies. Yet, fine points suggested hidden strain. Post-eatery exit, the group headed to Rutilio's abode, surrounded by high barriers and fitted with safety cams. This element later proved key in the probe as it showed Ariadna was oddly aloof and preoccupied. She regularly reviewed her device, dispatching texts and handling calls, atypical for her at social meets. Her texts revealed she'd messaged a dear pal to voice unease on the assembly and worries about certain attendees. Though hosting, the interplay between Vanessa and Rutilio seemed stiff. As the night went on, booze started swaying the group's actions. Witnesses said Vanessa aimed several sharp comments at Ariadna, to which Ariadna replied serenely to dodge clash. Vanessa, already stirred emotionally, reportedly elevated her tone multiple times, charging Ariadna with rudeness and unfriendliness. These charges didn't match other group members' views, but they added to rising tension. Meanwhile, Rutilio appeared impartial, though plainly uncomfortable with Vanessa's ways. A vital shift happened early next morn when witnesses saw Ariadna trying to exit the assembly. She was glimpsed briefly outside the dwelling, but soon after, probers concluded that in this span, Vanessa kept challenging Ariadna, leading to a head-on clash. Though exact dispute details stay vague, probers believe Vanessa charged Ariadna with pulling too much notice from Rutilio. Texts from devices confirmed Vanessa and Rutilio had discussed tense moments from that night. Once most guests left the event, only few remained in the house, including Vanessa, Rutilio, and Ariadna. Probers think Vanessa, reportedly highly drunk, started acting hostilely, and this was the instant an episode is thought to have occurred, causing Ariadna's deadly harms. What prompted Ariadna to upload such an odd note on social platforms? That night, it was first waved off as jest. As the probe progressed, pals affirmed Ariadna might have felt uneasy on Vanessa's conduct and the general assembly mood. The note could have been a bid to draw notice or even act as a faint alert. Per event rebuild, a major tragedy factor was Vanessa's envy, heightened by booze and psychological unsteadiness. Rutilio's deeds, likely a bid to hide occurrences, merely aggravated matters. Combined, these elements caused the disastrous result that could have been prevented if the event's atmosphere hadn't been so charged and unsteady. The choice united the kin as other family and pals helped the lad handle his grief and supplied a nurturing setting. Ariadna's 6-year-old boy was entrusted to her elder sibling Omar, who advanced to offer both monetary and heartfelt backing. Omar took on raising his nephew, striving to maintain Ariadna's legacy and encircle him with the affection she'd always displayed in life. Ariadna's kin persisted in efforts to reveal the complete truth around her demise. They arranged rallies, started online drives, and attracted communal notice. A notable success was securing foreign press interest, which amplified strain on Mexico's justice setup. Despite pushback from some officials, the kin and their counsel team guaranteed transparent case handling, factoring all pertinent proof. The populace and press keenly tracked each investigation and trial stage, allowing scant space for hidden or twisted facts. Consequently, the early court sessions on Ariadna's demise became a crucial point in justice pursuit. Prosecutors leaned on monitoring tapes, call logs, and text data as core proof during the court, which commenced emphasizing Rutilio and Vanessa's duties. The defense sought to dispute the proof, contending the tragedy was a sad mishap, but many accounts and forensic checks cast grave doubt on that view. These items disclosed not just the suspect's part in body hiding, but also their likely role in the aggressive acts causing Ariadna's demise. Pinpointing crime drives was a main trial goal. Witnesses portrayed Vanessa as rash and inclined to hostile ways, often worsened by booze. Though defendants rejected blame for Ariadna's demise, their tales conflicted with proof, further stoking doubt. Based on assembled proof, prosecutors filed charges linked to Ariadna's demise, possibly labeling it femicide, a gender violence crime viewed as worsening under Mexico law. If found guilty, both could get up to 70 years behind bars. Rutilio, meanwhile, was shown as having a shady past and claimed ties to crime webs, sparking more worries on his night involvement. If you thought this matter captivating, remember to thumbs up the clip and join the Hidden Cases files. We upload crime story videos nightly. Till the next, remain alert, remain watchful.